You are not here to be digestible. You're here to change the system. Actually, let's reference, I once wrote an EP when I was like 14, and it was called Beat the System. But I'm not staying in this place no more, in this way no more, and I'll say no more. How long did you think you could silence me? Dun, 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 dun. Hey, I'm Alyson Stoner. This is Postmarked Letters, and today I'm writing letters to my past self. This year is actually the 25th anniversary of moving from Ohio to LA to work in Hollywood.
Please welcome 10-year-old hip-hop dancer Alyson Stoner.
Hey, Isabella.
What you doing?
Oh, guys!
What now?
Today, I am also a certified mental health practitioner. I'm advocating for children's rights, not just in entertainment, but for children everywhere. I talk about this in my book, Semi-Well-Adjusted.
Are you ready for the first letter?
I suppose. I feel like people are gonna think I'm naked when they see the thumbnail of this.
Don't mind showing this to camera.
Sure. Just look like I'm a synchronized swimmer. What a moniker. When your worth is measured by performance, you learn to ignore the wisdom of your body. Fatigue, anxiety, hunger, boundaries, even joy, and that can lead to chronic stress, burnout, exhaustion. One of the most important elements in recovering from an eating disorder and burnout was to repair my mind-body connection. I had no idea that I had been mostly dissociated and numbed out, and I had been storing all of the stress from previous years. So I needed to learn tools that allowed me to process, express, and release what was coursing through my veins since childhood. 10 out of 10 recommend somatic psychotherapy. No one noticed I was disappearing because I kept up the veneer. And maybe add a smile because little Alyson was always smiling. It's kind of a quiet version of vanishing because the hustle speaks so loudly that people on the outside forget to ask how you're doing underneath it all. After doing the Missy Elliott video, when my life completely changed, where I was suddenly in customer service mode full-time when people were approaching me at the doctor's office, at the airport, at school, you start to develop this kind of hypervigilance where you can monitor not only what you're experiencing, but also what everyone else around you is doing. There's not much room there for actually checking in with what's going on. You know, people often ask, what advice would you give to that younger version of yourself? And I think more than anything, young Alyson just needed someone who would witness the real experience and say, it's okay for you to be a human in progress. So I think more than anything, I needed a hand to hold, not more advice to follow.
Do you still feel that way?
No, I'm a lone wolf. I don't need anyone. That's a joke. As I get older, I'm realizing that healing is a communal act. I can only repair my relationships so much without the other person involved participating. So I think it's made a difference in the quality of my relationships to see this as a both and, not an either me or you. The scariest part of being the easy kid is being primed to be taken advantage of in adulthood. When you are easy to work with, often as a child that means you're being conditioned to forsake your sense of agency and you're not learning anything about appropriate boundaries because you're expected to be whatever for whomever at whatever time. A lot of times I think we assume that children are just mini adults, but actually our cognitive architecture is completely different. We're at a different stage of development. The child isn't necessarily using critical thinking to make that decision. They're more so just modeling and trying to comply with what's expected of them so their basic survival needs are met. So for me as a child, it was all about accommodating, appeasing, and setting aside whatever my personal preference or desire was. I didn't even know you could ask yourself a question like, what do you want? Until I was in my mid-20s, really. Boundaries are important, and bodily autonomy, consent, these are concepts I didn't even know about until my mid-20s, until lots of folks had full access to my physical being and my life for years. I didn't learn boundaries. I learned this one. It sounds intense because it is intense, but it's true. How to be ready for use. Isn't it fun? It's fun. We like this, right? We like it. I understood myself as a tool for others' visions. And so even my body was just a project to complete or an object to fix. It wasn't actually my own, and my worth was deeply tied to my utility value. You know, there are even things called special skills lists for performers, and you essentially try to be a chameleon and learn every possible skill you can have just in case the character calls for it. So I will say, I didn't learn boundaries, but I did learn how to play the maracas. Bonus. Maracas. Is that how you spell maracas? M-A-R. Even when my body said no, those around me said, thank you for holding us down. I've heard that one a lot. As a child, I had to still come across as, you know, a mature adult business person. In many ways, it was like people were saying, thank you so much for not being a child like the rest of those children. I wish someone would have been like, hey, have you ever heard about throwing tantrums? You should try it. Okay, I'm just gonna fold up this letter here. Send this off. Just kidding. Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Sending it off. To post-fame Alyson. Not that I really know what fame means in this regard anyway. Let me give you 3 quick stats around the phenomenology of fame. First, people who are experiencing fame at a high level have 12 to 14 years shorter lifespan. Second, the experience of fame is connected to 3 times higher rates of dying by suicide. And the experience of fame has now been shown by Donna Rockwell in The Phenomenology of Fame, great research paper if you want to dig in, that fame has the same physiological response as being addicted to substances. So, with those 3 facts in mind, why would we want to hook a child to the drug of fame if we know it's going to shorten their lifespan and affect their neurobiological development? Great questions to start asking, especially now that social media exists and the funnel is wider than ever for young people to be filmed and sometimes monetized online. Tried to speak up, but the system taught me to avoid ruffling feathers. I think for fear of being blacklisted really seals the deal. Being blacklisted. You gotta say it like that. That's a common threat that many people experience across industries. If you want to challenge the status quo, or you see something that is unjust, but there are power dynamics involved, it's hard to know how to approach bringing that concern to light without fear of retaliation. So my job now as a mental health coordinator on productions is to create protocols where people feel safe enough to come forward about their concerns without fearing punishment. As a mental health coordinator, we can provide a range of services before, during, and after production to help tell stories in the most ethical way possible. So if a project involves any kind of intense themes or depictions and portrayals of mental health challenges, we want to make sure as coordinators that we're representing it authentically, we're not contributing to stigma or stereotypes, and that the people involved, not just the talent, but also the crew and the audience at home, have a chance to experience this in the most ethical way possible, without, of course, diminishing the artistic expression. If I were working with this young Alyson on set, if they had to play characters, I would say, come over here. And by the way, I would have their caregiver nearby because I'm not going to take a young minor to a private area without being in a semi-public space. I would help them get into character. And then after, I would make sure we make time to get out of character so that there's not the emotional bleed off or confusion between who they are and who the character is. And we'd have our little hand signals like, do you need support? Are you good? While they're in the moment, so that if you're on set and maybe it feels a bit embarrassing or impossible to voice everything that you're going through, that shorthand, literally, can help indicate whether you need a moment. And then I would say, all right, you just had 5 days on set in a row. What are you up to this weekend? And if I heard that they were working even more, I might invite their guardian and them to collaborate on ways that they can add some more rest and recuperation into the mix. You're not here to be digestible. You're here to change the system. Actually, let's reference, I once wrote an EP when I was like 14, and it was called Beat the System.
Those are your rules. I'll beat the system.
If that doesn't tell you that these things have always been on my mind, it's actually very well written. You're here to beat and change the system. I can give you some lyrics from Beat the System if you'd like.
I mean, absolutely.
The power, the struggle, the push and the pull. I was already untied, but I was used to control. When in thinking superiors would listen, got played like a pawn in their selfish ambition. Now the power, the struggle, the push and the pull isn't convenient or even comfortable, but I'm not staying in this place no more, in this way no more, and I'll say no more. How long did you think you could silence me? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, chicka, ah. That isn't fair. You get to play the lottery with second chances. So either way, you win today. The rest of us lost every game. Okay, if those are your rules, then I'll beat the system. Y'all, 14 years old. Not bad. Not bad. Like, maybe I should pursue music again. Okay. You became an expert at reading the room. I did. Thanks for noticing. But forgot how to feel safe and stay connected to my authentic self. Because I didn't understand how to feel safe, that meant I also didn't know how to be truly vulnerable. And I had what I call in the book the inner publicist whispering in my ear about what to say and how to say it. Even now, I can hear the inner publicist saying, time to wrap it up. This needs to be an editable soundbite. By becoming an expert at reading the room, I forgot how to exhale and relax. This says, it wasn't the fame that broke me, it was blank. But fame is actually linked to poorer health outcomes, so I do want to name that. Sorry, editing. Partially the fame that broke me. It was also an absence of safe environments and relationships. If you can picture a young child who is the president of a corporation whose name, image, and likeness are contractually owned by a media conglomerate, who has a team of up to 15 reps who commission every check that's earned, who's surrounded by people who need the child to be able to perform and therefore tend to say yes to whatever the child wants, needs, without any boundaries. And the young person is usually working up to 80 hours a week. You can see how that would not provide the kind of environment to develop healthfully. We smile now, but 20 years of therapy. If only I could do some kind of origami right now. Honestly, it checks out. This is post-fame. We're kind of falling apart at this point. All right, sending it off. Bringing us into the present to all grown up Alyson.
Who is all grown up Alyson?
Oh, I'm gonna get emotional. I'm the most whole I've ever been. And I feel like I can be an anchor for others, whereas if you had met me 15, 20, 25 years ago, I would have been moving with the waves and very unsure about what was coming next. But now I'm an anchor. Let's see what we got. I stop asking what's wrong with me and start asking, what can we do better right now? My supervisor talks about the salutogenic approach. TLDR, how can we focus on people's strengths and capabilities and not have this approach of, what's broken with someone that needs fixing? Like, how can we set people up for success, believing that when people have what they need at a basic level, they can be the best version of themselves? It's not that complicated. It's just that the systems are designed in such a fundamentally different way at the moment. Some people talk about burning it down. You didn't hear it from me, but it is an option that's on the table technically. We don't need perfection. We just need to do better than we've been doing. And there's absolutely something we can all do right now. My nervous system taught me that peace isn't stillness. It's, my nervous system taught me that I don't have an answer for everything. That's what all grown up Alyson would like to say. Like, you know some stuff, but you don't know about other things. Peace isn't still. I'm trying to find peace right now, so maybe can this one just be TBD? When I start telling that peace isn't stillness, it's working on it. And then now we do this face. Also those, just in case. These days I only say yes to blank. These days I try only to say yes to situations that don't compromise my integrity. This is assuming that I have learned all of these lessons, and I truly haven't. I still say yes to more than I want to, but I'm trying. I try to only say yes to jobs that align with my values, which is Of course, impossible to do 100% of the time because capitalism, but also I'm realizing what it means to flex that muscle of saying, I'll find another way to make ends meet, even if this seems easier, even if, this amount of money, not like people are calling me wanting to pay me a bunch of money all the time, but if that happens, I want to be able to say no and to walk away and just explore the ways that we can feel proud of the decisions we're making on a daily basis. That was a pretty good note to end on, right?
That really was. Absolutely.
Yeah. Shout out to my mentor. I feel like I need to show all grown-up Alyson that it's fine to be a little messy. So we're just adding that as a finishing detail. Those are inside thoughts. I guess I'll read this sometime later. See ya. Something I notice is some of the experiences that were once reserved for people in the public eye are actually now things that anyone with a Wi-Fi connection or a social media profile might relate to. Things like parasocial relationships and navigating issues of privacy and safety, and even mental health challenges of navigating the digital world. This is not just a problem reserved for people in the public eye, this is a human problem. And you deserve to feel safe and confident in your own mind and body and environment. I do hope that I'm surfacing some really urgent conversations in my memoir, Semi-Well-Adjusted, despite literally everything. And you can show up for the childhood chaos, but I hope you stay for the cultural critique. Thank you so much for watching, and also thank you so much for reading and listening to Semi-Well-Adjusted. Would love to hear your thoughts. Have a good one. Do you want me to play the maracas?
I mean,
I brought them, actually. Do you imagine? I just pull out maracas.